Hey guys, back here a little bit earlier than usual. Usually I kind of pace myself and do the album reviews, maybe a couple days in between, leave a couple days in between. But the reason I'm back so quick is because we're doing something a little bit different tonight that I've kind of talked about possibly doing before, like a while back, like a year ago. I just kind of never got around to it, but I figure, hey, um, might as well go ahead and start because it's something I'm also really passionate about. Besides, you know, music and all that, which, I love all kinds of stuff, video games, comic books. And another one of these loves is horror films. In particular, my favorite kind of subgenre of them are slasher flicks, Friday 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. And that one, Nightmare on Elm Street, it's easily my favorite movie franchise of all time. And, that may sound crazy, like, oh, like, to, like, big film critics or whatever, but, they're just fun for me. So, with that being said, we're going to rank all these all in one go here. Of course, I got this kind of, this classic box set, from the 90s that comes with part 1 through 6. 1 through 7, because Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and then I've got these two on DVD that we're also going to include in the ranking, and this would also be included in a Friday 13th ranking, But without further ado, let's see, we've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 Nightmare movies. I wish they'd make another one, with Robert Englund, because at the bottom of my list here, to no surprise, the worst one in my opinion is definitely the 2010 remake, Nightmare on Elm Street. And, this one, I've seen literally all these other films in this series a lot, like so many times. This is one I've probably only seen 2 or 3 times. And honestly, each time I watch it, I like it less and less. And it's not necessarily due to, Jackie Earle Haley's performance. He's got some kind of, freaky moments in it. He's got a cool voice for Freddy. But the makeup is awful. He looks like a lizard. I get what they were trying to go for, like the super realistic, like, burn victim, because they got a look to him. And they kind of nailed that if that's what they were wanting to go for. But it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right at all. The acting is it's like lifeless in here, it seems like all the characters are just pissed off or just dark and down, depressed, and they're just void of emotion entirely. So it just makes for a very boring film. A lot of the scenes that were like remade, use, like, for instance, when Freddy's like coming through the wall, pressing through the wall. Well, on the original, they just use practical effects. But on this, the CGI, it just looks awful. It's like, man. So, this one is, it's awful. I can't, I think it is a horrible movie. It's boring, despite having maybe 1 or 2 good scenes and a couple of cool lines by Jackie Earle Haley. I hate, one of the big things, too, that is a big problem. It's like, after the parents reveal that, hey, he raped you guys, they're like, no, he didn't. There's no way. And it's like, why wouldn't you believe them? Like, why wouldn't you believe your parents? They told you something like that. I don't know. It's just dumb. There's so many problems with this thing that I rarely ever go back to this. It's only ever if I'm marathoning through all of them. In which, what kind of prompted this video to begin with was me and my girlfriend have kind of been just going through these again. I've done a watch through of all these, like I said, so many times. So we just kind of been rolling through them, and I thought it'd be fun, since they're all kind of fresh on the brain here, to go ahead and, rank them. But yeah, number 9, I'd say this is a horrible movie right here. Not a fan at all. Then, at number 8, this one, these are the 2 that you usually find at the, these are kind of interchangeable, I see on a lot of people's lists, but we're talking about Freddys Dead, The Final Nightmare. This one, it got to a point here where Freddy became just such a big joke, and this is early 90s, as the movies were going along, it just got to be where he would become a little bit more funny and comedic, and I like my Freddy comedic, in the movies to an extent, which we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this just crossed the line within like the opening scene with him riding on a witch's broom and stuff, and it looks like he's like a cartoon character, and some of the kills in this are they're kind of memorable because they're so bad, but we've got, the video game one where he's just sitting here wigging out, tapping his power glove, and he just, oh man. And the makeup looks awful in this too. I cannot stand it. It looks like just a couple, like it just looks like Robert Englund with just some piece of bubble gum put on his face. So it's like, and the plot was kind of all over the place. I don't expect acting to be great and don't really care if it's great or not, usually in slasher flicks, as long as, it's a fun time or whatever, but some of this is just awful. Like the main John Doe character in this, it's rough. He's got some really bad acting, to where it's like super noticeable, not just cheesiness. Like, there are a couple cool moments in here. I love the kill with the hearing aid and all. And, the ending feels rushed as all get out. And they just are kind of like, all right, here we go. Yep, I'm Freddy's daughter. I'm going to put on 3D glasses and see these little demon worms. And they are going to, apparently, these little demon worms that is one of the dumbest things ever. Those are... They're what, made a deal with Freddy to make him be able to come back. Really dumb. I do like how they kind of show a little bit back in the past, like with him and strangling his wife and all. And like it turned out he did have a daughter in the basement and like they shoot him down in the basement and all. So there are a couple of cool things. And at least it's not boring. That's what puts this over the 2010 remake, is that it's not boring. It's at least kind of a fun time and you can make fun of it, But, again, not one I typically am like, I want to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddys Dead, The Final Nightmare. No, not typically one I'd like to go back to too often. But, I don't think this is terrible. You can have a fun time with it, and like I said, and you just kind of make fun of it along the way. But it definitely has major problems. All right. Now what we've got next here, I will go with... At number 7, we're going to go with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddys Revenge. And this one is a big time nostalgic to me. This was, the second one I ever saw, so like I watched the first Nightmare first, then this one, then I went all the way to Freddy vs. Jason. So I kind of was scattered all around the board watching these like when I was a kid, but yeah, this one, totally nostalgic with the whole bus ride scene and all. I love Freddy's look in this is really cool. Looks really, really demonic and stuff. And just really crazy looking. I love the kind of plot line of, him taking over the main character Jesse's body. And, you get that really cool scene at the end where he cuts out of him. That is super cool. The pool party scene is classic, where he's like, "You're all my children now." That's such a cool line, and the fire coming up out of there, even though it kind of breaks some rules. But at the same time, there are kind of some weird scenes in here, like one of the kills is the gym teacher getting his ass spanked with some towels and stuff. It's like, okay, a little weird. Like, the cool part about that, though, is when he gets clawed in the back. I do like how also Freddy, like towards the end of the film, instead of a glove, like they just, after transforming, after Jesse turns straight up into Freddy, he gets like the blades coming out of his fingers. So I thought that was really cool. There are a couple, other weird points, where the bird just catches on fire. There you go. It was like, okay. But overall, I do think this is a great movie. It's not my favorite out of the series, but, besides those, the remake at number 9 and number 8, Freddys Dead, from number 7 and up, I love these. So this is a great movie. I just don't think, I think it kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. For me, as far as memorable, um, as far as like memorable kills and stuff go. But it does, at least it's got the cool plot point to stand out, and it does almost feel like a spin-off in a way, because like, again, it breaks a lot of rules in the series, such as Freddy being able to go, you know, just go walk around like in front of everybody and still have powers and stuff, like out of the dream world, just in reality. Um, but it kind of it gives this also does have a really unique film, or sorry, a really unique feel to it. That really none of the other films really have to it. So I love Freddy's Revenge. Very nostalgic, but just not as many memorable kills, and just it kind of gets lost on the shelf for me. But I do love it. It's a great movie. It's a classic. All right. Now what I'm gonna go with here is at number 6 here. We're gonna go with Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And man, oh man, this one is easily the most cinematic feeling of any of the films. It feels like a big screen movie. I could see him coming out with this today. Like, it really has a modern feel to it. And Freddy looks like a badass in it. Or really, is it really Freddy? Because it's a demon taking his form, which is really cool. But he's got the jacket, a totally new design. Hell, it's my girlfriend's favorite design of him. She totally digs it, and I do too. I see where she's coming from. It's awesome. But but yeah, this movie is awesome. Every time I go back and watch this one, this is one where I love more and more, and just appreciate more and more. And it stands out in the series as being just a totally new, different kind of plot with the meta thing of like, oh, the actors are themselves, but there's the demon who's taken the form of Freddy that's been, lingering around all the film sets and stuff for all this time. And, you get that kid actor, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's been on all kinds of stuff. He played Gage in the Pet Cemetery. But he does a good job getting some kind of creepy scenes in here. Some really, really cool, just moments with Freddy in this overall. Not as many kills up in here, but the ones you do get, like the skin the cat deal or whatever to the babysitter in the hospital, that's a really cool one. I love the finale where they go like pretty much in hell and are running around, and there's kind of like a whole Hansel and Gretel kind of vibe to it with the kid kind of getting put in the oven and Freddy trying to break in there, and they're telling that fairy tale actually through at certain points in the movie. So I love this movie. It's become like a classic for me, one that I really love to put on. And, it really is a Wes Craven's kind of precursor to Scream with the whole meta kind of thing going on, as, like being more based in reality than actually the fiction. So, super, super cool movie. But I just, compared to some of these others, I got to put it a little bit lower here. But, yeah, just incredible stuff. At number 6. And number 5 here is going to be in Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. And man, oh man, I know this one gets a lot of hate online that I've seen, but I just love this movie. It's just such an entertaining, sequel to the Dream Master. And I loved the characters that Dream Master introduced, so to kind of get to see them again was really cool. You get just some awesome kills, some hilarious kills. Freddy did start to get a little bit more and more comedic, not quite to the point where it was too much in this, but it was riding that line, like with the comic book kill and Super Freddy. That was a little weird, a little dumb, but it had some cool visuals for that kill. We get the Bon Appetit bitch kill, so I love that one where he's, feeding that model her own organs or whatever. So really cool stuff from that. He's got a weird look in this one, though. He's got, like, really dark purple under his eyes. That's a little strange. And he looks kind of wet the whole time. Not the biggest fan of that look to Freddy. The kid in this, he's got some really cringy kind of corny moments. Like School's Out Kruger, and he gets the whole face of Freddy on him, and kind of a weird thing. But this one does have a really, and it's kind of the score of the film, like the music going on surrounding it. It has like a really like ambient and dreamy feel to it with like it's kind of like I guess it's like from the synth, uh, the synthesizers they kind of used on the score to kind of give it a really like a dreamy feel to it. And I love the kind of subplot of Alice, being pregnant and struggling with that, and it is a really cool idea to have Freddy entering the dreams of her fetus to where she can see the dreams without even being, asleep. So really, really cool. I know, like I said, I know this one gets a lot of hate because it is a corny one, but I love it. I'm a big fan of this one, and it has gone down my rankings over the years, but it's one that I do pop on a lot, like for sure. If I'm gonna pop on a Nightmare on Elm Street, this one does come on or come to mind, and I may be like, ooh, I might just want to pick this one because I absolutely love Dream Child. All right, so we got that. Number 4, we are going to go, and this may piss some people off or whatever, and I get it. But this is, everybody's got their own opinion on this stuff. And these top 4 here especially are they're incredible. It's some of my favorite movies of all time. But I'm going to go with number 4. As crazy as it may sound, if I get some heat for it or whatever, it's whatever. We all like stuff differently and enjoy things for different reasons. And I'm going to go with the original Nightmare on Elm Street. That's right, I usually see this one up at least in the top 2 for people. But to me, and this was the first one I ever seen. Absolutely love it. It's a freaking 5-star classic. Love, love, love this movie. You got Johnny Depp in here. You got Nancy as the main character. So awesome cast, awesome kills with the blood coming out of the bed, and you get even the first kill with Tina getting sliced up and thrown all around the room is super cool. Really cool scenes like the whole bathtub scene. And, Freddy with his tongue in the phone, I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. Like, really, really cool and funny stuff. So you still get kind of that comedic edge with Freddy. His look's all right in this one. They hadn't really, developed his design entirely, it seems. But, it's still a good look for Freddy. And, it's just an all-time classic. This was one of the big ones I watched when I was a kid, and I just love popping this one on. And my reasons for it being lower than I would say maybe the next 3, which most people again wouldn't really put this one below those, but for me, I just put it below those because I have more fun with the ones that I've ranked above this. But this is a blast of a film, and it's a classic. It's a must watch for any horror fan out there, and it is probably the most well accepted film from like even people who aren't as big horror or slasher fans. But it's a classic. It gives you all your iconic scenes, a lot of your iconic Freddy lines, and just some of the best Freddy that you'll get. So the original Nightmare on Elm Street, again, I know it's a lot of people's number 1 or 2, but to me it just ranks at number 4. Now with number 3, and this is going to shock people too, but Freddy vs. Jason. And, this movie, you talk about a fun time. You get, man, it's great seeing Robert Englund in the makeup, the Freddy makeup, in like such a modern film. It came out in 2003. You get a cool portrayal of Jason. It's no Kane Hodder Jason, but it is a really cool, and kind of Frankenstein vibe Jason. Really, my only gripe about this movie, which isn't the biggest one, I get what they were trying to do, but trying to say Jason was afraid of water when literally, like, the majority of the movies, he's swimming around drowning people. So, that didn't really make sense, but I get what they were trying to do, like the fire versus water kind of thing. But, yeah, you get some really cool kills in this, especially Jason. Probably, I'll say Jason has better kills overall in this, and more kills, in fact, in this, since Freddy's kind of using him as a puppet to become relevant again, so the kids will remember him. You get the scene where Jason's stabbing that dude in the bed and then folds it on him. You get You do get some really, really creepy Freddy scenes, though, like the first dream sequence we kind of get with the girl with her eyes cut out and warning Lori, the main protagonist here, to warn her friends and all. And I love the opening of this too, where it's like zoomed up on Freddy's face and you see like blood on his teeth, like fangs, and his eyes are looking all crazy. And you get some flashbacks and stuff. I love that opening. It's just, man, it gets you hyped for this. And I have a lot of nostalgia for this too, because I remember this was like the first rated R movie or whatever that my older brother and I, when we were kids, we were able to watch like by ourselves. Like we went over and rented it from Blockbuster, and we saw like the poster or whatever, and we begged my mom to allow us to watch this thing, and she was like, "All right, well, you guys go in there and just cover your eyes at any of the nudity or whatever." But you know, so that was pretty funny. There's a lot of nostalgia for this thing. I used to love watching this every year around Halloween time when it would come on TV. But man, this one is just so much fun to me. The badass fight at the end, sure, it's campy and kind of crazy that they're whooping each other's asses, throwing each other around, but it's just so cool, and it's super satisfying to see two of my two favorite horror icons just beating the living hell out of each other. So yeah, this is just such a fun time. Hell, I was watching it just the other evening with my older brother again, for old time's sake. So yeah, absolutely love Freddy vs. Jason. It is a classic for me. Then number 2, and these two come pretty close for me. But number 2, you talk about a fun movie. We're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. This, man, you have some of this one is just so much fun. From the get-go, you get Freddy, coming back to life. In the previous movie, the Dream Warriors cast, just killing them off one by one with some of the coolest kills in the series. We've got the one with the weightlifting and the bench press thing going on, and really, really cool and gory scene where bones pop and he turns into a cockroach and all. So that's a really cool kill. We have the one where the dude's doing karate and he just stabs him with his glove while he's invisible. The one where he's sucks the girl with asthma, like sucks her breath out of her and almost looks like turns into a mummy and says, "What a suck face," Just such a freaking fun time. This was riding hot off the success of Dream Warriors, so the series was at an all-time high. Freddy isn't like too comedic in this one, in my opinion. He's like, this is where they started realizing, and kind of became the more MTV friendly Freddy with like the even crazier and more out there kills, but it didn't cross the line to where he's not scary, and you get my favorite final girl in the whole series is in this one, and was in Dream Child, Alice. I think she's super cool, and really if you watch Dream Warriors, this one and 5 all in a row, like those are usually, like if I'm going to do like maybe a mini marathon or something, or let's say I just watch this one, I almost feel like I have to watch Dream Child right after because those just link up right just perfectly together. But yeah, Freddy has one of his most iconic looks in this, if not his most iconic look. Just looks amazing. I love the really colorful environment going on in here. And like I said, there's so many kills in here. Like, he's freaking unstoppable. There's just some incredible quotes from him in here. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I could say the same for really the majority of these here. So yeah, the Dream Master, I've seen it get more praise over the years, which is good because, I think this is just an incredible movie and just a freaking blast. But if you use the process of elimination, you know that number 1, and it's actually literally my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it so many times, and it's just, you talk about a blast. We're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. And man, oh man, this movie, changed the game for me, dude. Whenever I first watched this, I was blown away. I was like, holy hell. You get, my favorite look of Freddy, my favorite, role in which Freddy plays, or what am I trying to say? My favorite portrayal of Freddy. I mean, I know literally 8 out of 9 of them are Robert Englund, but I mean, this is like the perfect blend between the kind of funny, comedic Freddy and the straight up scary Freddy. And I love the setting of this being in the mental asylum and all. Super cool setting, you know, where the doctors are not really believing the kids and all. You got a really cool cast of kids. They each get their powers, which is pretty corny and funny. And I kind of like that kind of campiness in it. So, like, literally my favorite kills of all time are all in here. The welcome to prime time bitch popping out of the TV. That's just, oh, I crack up every time. You get the super cool one where he's playing puppeteer with the guy's nerves. You know, you get the really cool scene where he's like, let's get high, and, you know, jams the girl Taryn with needles. You know, and I think, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on her name. The girl, Patricia Arquette plays. Kristen, yeah. I think she does a decent job as final girl, but, you know, Nancy comes back, so she kind of overshadows that, and I just think it's such a great movie, front to back, start to finish. It's literally my favorite movie of all time. I will never not have a blast watching this. It's just so many great scenes, memorable quotes, incredible kills, awesome portrayal and appearance of Freddy. This is the definitive Nightmare on Elm Street for me. If you want, like, what Freddy's all about, you know, maybe if someone had never seen the series before, I'd maybe start them off with part one. But, you know, if they're wanting more of, like, if they know Freddy already, kind of as, like, you know, the guy with the one-liners and all, this is the one right here. And it's just, man, oh man. I really can't say enough about how much I love this movie and how fun of a time it is. And it'll just never fail to make me crack up and laugh and just have a good time. And, you know, just a really cool final sequence too, whenever they're in the dream world and he's at almost, you know, pretty much his most powerful. And they hold the kid Joey hostage down there. And, you know, they're all using their powers or whatever to go after him. Such a cool sequence there. Final ending there. So, yeah, guys, this was a really fun video to do. And I am going to be doing more and more stuff like this. I mean, right now, my girlfriend and I are currently going through the Hellraiser flicks. I've seen all those before, too, several times. But it's just, you know, we're kind of, just like I do the album reviews, I kind of want to just, you know, revisit them before jumping into them. And, you know, I don't know how long, because I'm not watching these like every other day or whatever. I just kind of watch them whenever we're feeling like it or whatever. So it may be a minute, you know, before we end up ranking those next. But I'm definitely going to do Hellraiser next. I'm a big fan of that series, despite, you know, there being a bunch of controversy in it and a lot of underrated titles, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm hyped to be ranking the Hellraiser movies coming up. And, you know, let me know if you guys liked seeing maybe some stuff kind of different, just like that right there, you know, ranking a horror franchise and stuff like that. So thanks, guys. And don't forget, the album review will be going up, though, soon. I'm going to say probably not tomorrow, but the next day, of Black Sabbath's Born Again. So stay tuned for that. That's what will be coming up next on the channel. And like, subscribe, comment, guys, and thanks.